The number one topic conservatives ask me about all the time is abortion, and that's probably because, for the most part, the people who watch this show are women, and we're constantly told by the media that reproductive rights are women's rights. But are they actually? For a lot of people, the topic of abortion is the hardest to debate because it's such an emotional and sensitive issue. So I've picked out what I think are the 10 most commonly used gotcha questions by the pro-abortion movement to pro-lifers and how to answer them. I'm Alex Clark, and this is POPlitics. Question number one, you've probably been asked before, why are you trying to tell women what to do? It's her body, her choice. The pro-life answer is, when a woman is pregnant, there are two separate bodies with completely separate DNA, the mother's and the baby's. If it was only one body, then we'd be saying the mother has 2 hearts and 20 fingers, but we don't. Our right to do what we want to our own body doesn't supersede another human being's rights. If I want to get a piercing or a tattoo, I can do that. It's my body. No one else is affected. But if I use my body to go up to someone and punch them in the face, that's assault. The argument of it's my body, my choice ends when you harm someone else's life. Question 2, doesn't every child deserve to be wanted? The pro-life answer is, of course pro-life people agree every child should be wanted, and they are. There are more parents in the United States waiting to adopt than there are children to be adopted. Also, somebody's value shouldn't be determined by whether or not someone wants them. When your friend feels worthless because she gets dumped, do you tell her that she has no worth because that scumbag didn't want her? Of course not. If abortion is just a way to eliminate people who are unwanted, then shouldn't pro-abort support the Holocaust? Jews were unwanted by Hitler and his regime. And what about elderly parents who are getting older but their kids don't want to take care of them? Should nursing homes just start poisoning them in their sleep? No! Every human being's life is valuable no matter what stage, age, or size. Question number 3, why do you believe a fetus is more important than a grown woman? The pro-life answer is, we don't think a fetus or a baby is more important than a woman or a woman more important than them. We think they're both equally important, which is why a true healthcare provider will do their best to protect both at all costs. When it comes to abortion being medically necessary to protect the life of the mother like you hear about, the truth is, it never is. Sometimes when the mother's life is at risk, the baby will need to be delivered early, and then medical professionals will do their best to help that baby survive, but sometimes they won't. Some women after week 24, which is when the most common life-threatening situations happen, will opt for an emergency C-section, which typically takes less than an hour. An abortion at that stage can take 2 to 3 days. Even in the most high-risk pregnancies, there is no medical reason whatsoever to directly and intentionally end the life of a child with abortion. Question number 4, isn't a fetus just a clump of cells and not actually a baby? Medical textbooks and scientific journals all agree that life begins at conception, and the human being that is being formed is a genetically distinct person with fingerprints, a blood type, and a full DNA of information separate from its mother. The word fetus doesn't mean not human. It's a stage of development, just like a toddler or teenager. It's scientifically impossible to try to claim that a fetus is not a human being just because they're at an earlier stage of development than an infant. Question number 5, do you really think men should have a say when it comes to a woman's right to an abortion? The pro-life answer is, it was 9 men who ruled in favor of Roe v. Wade, so by that logic, I guess we will have to overturn it then. Remember, it takes 2 to tango. Question number 6, can you stop trying to impose your religious views on others? The pro-life answer is, if you want a theological argument for why it's completely unbiblical for a Christian to support abortion, that exists and we can go there. But to oppose abortion isn't a religious issue, it's a human rights issue. You don't have to be religious to know that it's wrong to abort a child, and all laws are legislated based on what is right and wrong. If you're a civilized society, then you decide what is and abortion isn't acceptable behavior. Like slavery, for example. Abolishing slavery was a law based on what we as a country decided was wrong and a violation of human rights. Abortion is no different. Question number 7. Doesn't abortion prevent human suffering and poverty? This idea that a violent death inflicted on a child in the womb is somehow more compassionate than letting them live is insane. Letting them live gives them the chance to have an incredibly fulfilling life filled with love and happiness. If you think abortion is more humane than letting a child grow up in poverty, why wouldn't we just end the life of any child who finds themselves in that situation? Lots of families are struggling financially and scaling back due to lockdowns. Should we ease their financial burdens by killing their children? What about celebrities like Oprah, Dolly Parton, or Leonardo DiCaprio? They all grew up poor and in sad conditions, but they were able to rise above their circumstances to become millionaires and even billionaires here in the United States of America. What about medical hardships? If they're a reason to have an abortion, then anyone who encounters health issues at any stage should be killed, right? If someone loses a limb in an accident, do they still deserve to live? If someone gets cancer, should they be able to go through chemotherapy and attempt to survive it? Abortion is not the solution to the world's problems. It just creates another one. Question number 8. What about in cases of rape and incest? The pro-life answer is, first of all, let me say that sexual assault is one of the most inhumane, unthinkable, disgusting, and tragic things that could ever happen to another human being. And it breaks my heart because it's more than a physical violation. It's an emotional one as well that has profound effects on a person for the rest of their life. There's no justification for it. Ever. And there's no words that can make it better or heal the wounds. Survivors then have to spend copious amounts of their own money to get help for something that they never deserved or wanted. And even then, it's like a Band-Aid over a bullet hole. No one in the pro-life movement wants to force women to become pregnant. And we do recognize the injustice that happens when a woman is held against her will and sexually assaulted. Pro-lifers and even pro-choicers believe that rapists should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and punished for putting an innocent woman in the position to carry a child that she didn't ask for. But let me ask you this. We don't give the death penalty to the rapist, the man who actually committed this crime. And obviously, we don't give the mother the death penalty, right? So why would we give the death penalty to an innocent child? They didn't ask to be put in this situation either. Question number 9. If you overturn Roe v. Wade, wouldn't more women die from back alley and coat hanger abortions? The pro-life answer is, get this, before abortion was legalized under Roe in 1973, the death toll from back alley abortions was 39 women. Only 39. And don't get me wrong, one life lost is one too many. But 39 is not tens of thousands every year like you hear about from Planned Parenthood puppets who use their propaganda to deceive women. In fact, in the year that abortion was legalized, more women died from legal abortion than illegal. That's because the procedure itself is extremely dangerous. The Roe versus Wade ruling was based on false numbers. Abortion never should have been legalized. The real reason deaths have decreased from abortion isn't because it was legalized, it's because of the widespread introduction of antibiotics that has saved the lives of women who would have otherwise died of botched abortions. The main forms of abortion that women get have hardly changed at all since the last century. There is no such thing as a safe abortion. One person, the mother, is harmed emotionally and physically, and the other person loses their life. Okay, the last question, question number 10. If you believe in the Constitution as conservatives say they do, then why don't you believe abortion is a constitutional right? The pro-life answer is Roe versus Wade is unconstitutional, and I'll prove why. When people try to argue that abortion is protected by the Constitution, they usually bring up the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says that no human being should be denied basic constitutional rights to life, liberty, or happiness. Even the justice who wrote Roe v. Wade, Harry Blackmun, admitted that if prenatal personhood is established, the case for abortion collapses, for the fetus's right to life would then be guaranteed specifically by the 14th Amendment. And we know, based on scientific evidence, that human life begins at conception. That's why pro-abortion people always want to change the conversation when it comes to what makes a human being, because since personhood is established at conception, it becomes impossible at that point to defend Roe v. Wade. After hearing all of those answers, if you still think, well, I'm personally pro-life, Alex. I just don't think it's right to tell someone else what they can or cannot do. I have to ask you, why are you personally against it? Is it because you know it's ending an innocent human life? If that's the case, you're really willing to sit back while one of the greatest atrocities in human history, like slavery and the Holocaust, unfolds around us? If you see your neighbor abusing their child through their window, do you think, well, it's their house, their rules, their right to privacy, the law shouldn't be involved? Absolutely not. Again, no one's rights include the right to harm or end life of someone else. I hope this episode will arm you with the answers you need to answer commonly asked questions from your pro-choice friends and maybe even changed your mind. It's so important for you to like this episode, ask other questions in the comments about abortion that you may have, and share this episode to your stories, please, so that we can let people know the truth about the horrors of abortion and that it is never necessary, no matter what. Subscribe to POPlitics on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Please leave us a 5-star review. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is POPlitics. Click below to watch yesterday's episode. Please subscribe, thumbs up, share this video, and ring the bell for notifications so you never miss the conservative. And make sure you're following this show at POPlitics on Instagram for even more CUTEservative content.